Good afternoon and welcome to KTN News Desk. My name is Edith Kimani. We've just witnessed outgoing President Mwai Kibaki getting a rare opportunity to address the just sworn-in governors and other members of the county government. Our Asha Mwilu, who is a senior reporter in politics, is currently standing by in Naivasha, where she'll be telling us details of why this is so important and why the country needs a whole week of induction for these governors. That's coming your way shortly.
Right, and good afternoon. Many thanks for keeping it KTN. This is indeed news as it happens.
Right, we will be telling you how your tweets and your Facebook messages could have influenced the number of tourists going to the Mount Kenya region. That's also coming your way in this show.
We also have details about why farmers are crying foul over delayed delivery of fertilizers and seeds. Stay tuned.
News Desk begins right now. Outgoing President Mwai Kibaki, as we just mentioned, just finished giving a speech of the induction program to the recently concluded general elections. Now, the one-week program, which is supposed to be looking at governors at Naivasha, is being attended by governors and their deputies, plus other county assembly officials, including speakers and coordinators. Our senior reporter Asha Mwilu is in Naivasha and now joins us live with the very latest from that workshop. Asha Mwilu, perhaps we could begin with what President Kibaki started with, saying that it's a very big and it's a very major job for the county, for the governors especially. Was there that feeling today when this induction was being opened?
Yeah, Edith, you know, this is one of the last events that President Kibaki will be officiating over, one of the last state events before he inaugurates President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta. And so his sentiments here concerning the county governments and the introduction to the now devolved system of government were very hard-hitting for the governors here. He was hesitating and emphasizing on very critical issues that, of course, have been highlighted throughout the month as we had anticipated these governors to be sworn in. And now that they've officially taken office, President Kibaki's message to them was very, very important. They will be attending a 5-day induction here at the Great Rift Valley Lodge in Naivasha, basically to just tell them what their roles are and to emphasize and to explain, elucidate on what their functions are concerning how the Constitution looks at the county governors. And of course, just the concluded speech, as you've said, by President Kibaki, touched on issues concerning the county commissioners and the interdependence of the central government and these county governments. Let's just take a listen to what President Kibaki said.
I therefore appeal for strong linkages and mutual trust between national government officers at county level and officers of the county governments. Will you work together? We are only one state, and I don't want the quarrel I hear nowadays, because you are quarreling as if you belong to different states, but we belong to one state. Let us remember that our ultimate objective is to serve the people of Kenya, to improve their economic and social welfare. As I conclude my remarks, let me once again express my best wishes as you settle down in your duties. You have been elected because of the special qualities that the people saw in you. Please never lose sight of that fact. You are in leadership to serve the people and better their lives.
Listen to that, Edith. President Kibaki, on one of his final speeches before he hands power to President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta. And just after that sentiment there, he went on to add to the governors here, the 47 governors, telling them that one role that they will be playing is to create an employment. We know about the unemployment rates, and he pointed out that the governors should actually look at more statistics just to know what they will be dealing with concerning their counties. And further to that, Edith, on the aspect of the interdependence between the central government and the county governments, you know, President Kibaki hesitated this point, repeated it about 4 times in his speech, talking about Kenya being a unitary state. And of course we know about the tussle that has been going on between the county commissioners during this transition period and the county governors, and the role that the two will be playing. And President Kibaki was keen to say that, you know, this should not come into play during such a crucial time when governors will be taking office and when there's a lot of expectations on them.
Asha, allow me to jump right in before we get into the controversy. We do know that this is the second time that the governors are meeting, the first time being when they were aspirants. Why is it so important for them to constantly keep meeting to highlight their roles?
Well, Edith, the first time that they met was before the election. They were gubernatorial aspirants. That was before the election. And basically, it was just to tell them about what the Constitution says about their functions. This particular induction course is now after they've been sworn in. And it's very crucial so that they can understand very important aspects in terms of financial agreements with the central government. And that's why we're seeing commissions such as the revenue allocation of commissions such as the CIC talking about the Constitution, very important aspects that these governors have to understand. You remember the issue about whether governors will be allowed to fly the Kenyan flag on their vehicles. That I probably think will be one of the aspects that will be discussed within this 5-day induction course, Edith.
All right, thank you very much, Asha Mulu. She is our senior reporter coming to us live from Naivasha, where, as we've mentioned, outgoing President Mwai Kibaki getting a rare opportunity to address the just sworn-in members of the county government, highlighting key issues and key roles that they'll be undertaking in the new government. And some of these roles have, however, been outlined in the Constitution. And even as the members of the county government continue with their induction program, remember, it's going to be taking about a week. Some of their roles are clearly outlined in the Constitution, as Asha Mulu has mentioned. Now, these governments will be responsible for implementing legislation for their counties. Now, essentially, these will be like bylaws. So, for example, a county may decide that its residents are not allowed to keep more than, say, 1 dog in each household, and it will be the job of the county government to actualize these laws. However, and this is important to note, national laws cannot be violated in favor of county laws. And part of the county government's mandate is to ensure the integrity of national laws. Governors will also have the delicate task of creating a county executive committee. Why is it delicate? Because it will act much like a cabinet, but then on a county level. Now, this job solely lies with the governor, and his team may determine how well county revenue is used. This team could also determine the economic prospects of the county. And so it's very crucial what people are elected to be represented in this particular committee. Let's now hand you over to Bonitunya, who has news coming in from Nakuru, I believe. Bonitunya, what's going on there?
Right, and I think at this point I should say welcome back. Moving on, police have recovered and detonated a second homemade bomb at St. Mahu Farm in Nakuru. The bomb was discovered this morning at the farm that belongs to internally displaced persons, barely a day after a similar discovery. Now, the device was found wrapped in an aluminium foil covered in a substance. Now, police suspect that it could be a common component found in explosive. This is the same area that a bomb was discovered yesterday and detonated by the police. Investigation are still on the list that who could have left the bomb or where and what was the destination of this particular. However, investigations are still underway in Nakuru.
Okay, this is information that's just gotten to us in the last hour, where 2 police officers have been killed by unknown assailants in Garissa town. Now, the plain-clothed police officers were shot at about 12:30 this afternoon, and that prompted a crackdown in search of the assailants. All Garissa residents have been ordered to leave the town and return to their homes while the police track down the gunmen. However, there are suspicions that the officers were shot by Al-Shabaab sympathizers. We do have now Hamza Yusuf, who is our correspondent in Garissa, to bring us more details on the same. Hamza, if you can hear me, we got this information at about 12:30. Is there anything new on that case? Hamza, I'll just repeat the question for your benefit. We received this information at 12:30. Have the police gotten any new information or any new leads on the killings?
Well, it was almost an hour ago. Two policemen were killed by unknown assailants in a busy street of Garissa town, a place known as Bulletin. The police have arrived immediately, but they didn't manage to get the suspect who are behind the killing.
Hamza, we're also getting reports that the residents of Garissa town have been ordered to go back to their homes. I'm just wondering what the atmosphere must be like in Garissa right now.
Well, there's a crackdown of business in Garissa town, and everybody went back from after the incident happened, because the police are doing the whole of Garissa town currently.
All right, that's Yusuf Hamza coming to us from Garissa town, where we've just gotten details that 2 police officers have been killed in Garissa. It's not yet clear who killed them, although there is suspicion that Al-Shabaab sympathizers could be behind the shooting. This occurred at 12:30 p.m. this afternoon, and police are apparently on a crackdown in that region, asking residents to go back to their homes. Tunya?
Right, moving on, let's talk about farming now. And hundreds of farmers in the North Rift today flocked at the National Cereals and Produce Board, that is the NCPB depot in Eldoret, to purchase the subsidized fertilizer that has been released by the government. The farmers who arrived at the board's regional office, says as early as 7 a.m, expressed concerns over the process of purchasing the subsidized inputs, which they describe as hectic and may delay their planting program. Now, the National Cereals and Produce Board Managing Director, Professor Gideon Misoi, however, says more bags of the subsidized fertilizer are expected later in the week to be distributed to the various depots.
Account name is GOK and the government of Kenya. Subsidized fertilizer.
Farmers in the North Rift region are racing against time as planting season is here, but delay to access and purchase of subsidized fertilizer may affect their planting. A spot check this morning in Eldoret Town's National Cereals and Produce Board depot indicates that the fertilizer arrived this morning from Mombasa, but the quantity was too little. Farmers from neighboring county of Elgeyo Marakwet complained of having to travel to Eldoret to purchase the fertilizers. Sources close to the board indicated that other areas have received fertilizers this morning. Apart from Eldoret is Moi Bridge and Kitale NCPB depots. The subsidized fertilizers provided by the government will cost the farmer 2,500 shillings, while the market rate ranges between 3,700 and 3,800 shillings. Experts had warned of looming food shortages in Kenya as lack of subsidized government fertilizer and increased fuel prices hit the planting season. Grain farmers in the North Rift region say the increased cost of farm input fertilizer, maize seed and diesel prices may force them to reduce acreage under the crop, therefore posing a threat to the country's food security. Right, and from matters of food now, we do know the country is on transition, and Edith, if by now you don't have your ticket to the Moi Sports Center Kasarani, where the swearing in will be happening on the 9th of April between 10 and 2 p.m. That is according to law, but that is what really is happening. We're expecting to swear in President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta as the next president. Right, I understand that rehearsals are currently underway and the military is preparing. Do you think we're going to see something different, or is it going to be the same old? Well, for one, numbers, and 2, it's at the Kasarani, so that's why I brought the whole idea of tickets. I think we should have VIP. I don't know what the seating arrangement will be, but I think it will be a momentous occasion for Kenyans, really. Okay, I'm sure you have the details of that story. You seem very excited about it, I must say. Do you have your ticket? Right, no party affiliations here, but moving on, preparations for the swearing in of the president-elect scheduled to take place next week continued today at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, earlier this morning. Now, the Kenya Defense Forces, if you like, KDF, which includes the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy, conducted a dress rehearsal ahead of the ceremony. ceremony slated for Tuesday, 9th of April 2013. Now, construction work is already underway at the Kasarani Sports Ground, and that is already ongoing in anticipation of the swearing-in of the 4th President of the Republic of Kenya. Right, preparations on top gear, and we'll head right there where Rita Tinina is standing by to talk to us live on phone on the preparations ahead of the 9th swearing-in of President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta. Good afternoon, Rita.
Good afternoon, Bonnie.
What is happening at Kasarani?
Well, just over an hour ago, the Kenya Defense Forces, as you said earlier, including the senior-most service, that is the Kenya Army, the Kenya Air Force, and the Kenya Navy, conducted a dress rehearsal for Tuesday's ceremony. And really, Bonnie and Edith, it is a minute-by-minute rehearsal. Everything that will be happening on Tuesday being taken into consideration during the rehearsals. Talk of anything, including how President Mwai Kibaki will be marching. There is a man there playing the role of President Mwai Kibaki, marching just as slowly as the president marches. They went through the motions. Even when our prayers on the program, someone says the prayer. So it is something that is being done according to military precision. And this is a dress rehearsal that will continue for the next 6 days until Tuesday next week, just to ensure that everything goes perfectly well and according to plan. Bonnie.
Right, Rita, important question here. What is the cost of, we've seen elaborations, people are painting, soldiers are marching. What is the cost of this celebration?
Well, these celebrations, of course, being coordinated by the committee on the assumption of office of the president. And so far, the indications we are getting is that the country will perhaps get to know the total cost of the whole event after that swearing-in ceremony. Right now, that committee, which is being chaired by Head of Civil Service Francis Kimemia, is not giving any figures as to how much it will cost for that event. Today, there were no senior officers on the ground, but tomorrow's dress rehearsal will be the full rehearsal, which will be witnessed by the Chief of the Defense Forces, Julius Karangi. Bonnie.
Right, Rita, do we know who is on the guest list from the international community?
We are told several invites have been sent out. We are, of course, expecting various heads of state. That list will be getting for you in the course of the day. It is one that we have requested just to know who and who have been invited. We are expecting closer home all the regional leaders from around Kenya, that is Uganda, Tanzania, the whole of the East African community, Rwanda. But on the international front, we are not sure yet who has been invited. But one thing is for sure, we will be seeing dignitaries from all over the world during this swearing-in ceremony. Of course, Uhuru Kenyatta has already received congratulatory messages from world leaders, including the British Prime Minister, who sent his messages just after the Supreme Court upheld Uhuru's victory. And so we expect some world leaders to attend the ceremony. Bonnie.
Final question, Rita, before I let you go. Of course, we've seen a lot of celebration. We know that the celebration will be between 10 and 2 p.m. Sorry, I'm calling it a celebration. It's a swearing-in ceremony. But do we know any, in terms of the seating arrangement, who will be allowed inside the stadium and not?
We are not sure yet. Right now, this morning when we were there, they were constructing a podium, and that is where the dignitaries will sit. That podium is being constructed, the VIP, the main VIP area at the sports stadium. In front of that VIP area, they are constructing another big podium. We are told that is where all the dignitaries will be sitting, but protocol officers have not yet released the arrangements according to which invited guests will be sitting. Bonnie.
Thanks, Rita. Of course, bringing us up to speed with the latest as what is happening at the Kasarani preparations for the swearing-in of President-elect Uhuru Kenyatta that is scheduled for the 9th of April 2013. Over to Edith, take us to Nyeri.
Thank you, Tunya. And we have an interesting story of how social media could actually be shaping the tourism industry. And if you're looking for a place to go this holiday, stakeholders in the tourism sector in Mount Kenya region are welcoming you, together with the increased number of tourists in the area. Now, both local and foreign tourists have apparently flocked the area, and that's thanks to the improved infrastructure and increased awareness through social media. Felix Mwangangi, who is a senior warden at the Aberdares National Park, says that revenue from tourism this year has actually increased to 7.9 million shillings, and that's from 4.9 million that was received last year. Now, our Central Kenya senior reporter, Karen Derry, has details of the improved fortunes of tourism stakeholders in Mount Kenya region.
That we will find most of the animals that you cannot find in the other parks, like giant forest hogs. We have got bongos, which are found just near the mountain.
It was expected to take a hit as the political uncertainty dragged on prior to the Supreme Court ruling, but the tourism sector has defied the odds and stayed afloat throughout the electioneering period. According to Kenya Wildlife Service senior warden based at the Aberdares, Felix Mwangangi, in the last 1 year, revenue from tourism has increased by 4 million Kenya shillings. Particularly, visitors thronged the Mount Kenya tourist attraction sites such as the Aberdare Parks and Mount Kenya Forest Parks. Traditionally, most tourists visit the coastal area, but according to the senior warden, perhaps recent security concerns at the coast might have led to the migration of some tourists from that part of the country to the Mount Kenya sites.
Many parks across the country were experiencing low tourism activities. In fact, we experienced more.
Interestingly also, while they feared that the election period would keep away tourists, the Mount Kenya areas had more visitors than expected.
During the month of February and March this year, we had visitors who were already in the country, and they had to stay somewhere. So I think there were some issues along the coast. There were not very big issues actually as such, but visitors avoided such areas. And because they had to stay somewhere, that's why we had more visitors than we had last year. Also coupled with the fact that we have some activities like hiking were becoming more popular with the visitors.
And to their delight, Kenyans themselves are also joining as local tourism picks up. Over the Easter holidays, the number of local tourists visiting their own sites doubled from last year, something he can attribute to the awareness created by social media through sites such as Facebook and Twitter and other attractions.
Tukafungua Facebook na tukafungua Twitter ambayo tunajaribu kuelezea wananchi ni attractions gani, ni vivutio gani ambazo wanakuja Aberdares kuona. Kuna wanyama wa porini kama wanyama kama ndovu, kuna wanyama kama faru, black rhino.
And most animals come after sunset in the evening, and they come all the way from the mountain, following those trails up to the first waterhole here, which is a fresh water, and then they come around where they find the second waterhole, which is a bit salty, and that's where they meet with the other animals like elephants, buffaloes, and sometimes even later at the night we find the black rhinos.
The European Union is overseeing a project where 62 kilometers of road will be upgraded in the northern Aberdare in parts of Ndaragwa, Tunyahururu and the vicinity. 5 tourist accommodation establishments have been tendered and construction will begin in the month of June. Activities such as hiking have also become quite popular, and KWS intends to tap into this to arouse interest and create awareness. Tourism remains to be one of Kenya's biggest foreign exchange earners, and an increase in revenue from 3.9 million Kenya shillings to 7.9 million Kenya shillings is definitely a large increase, and the stakeholders in the sector say they will continue to implement policies that will improve the sector generally. Carol Derry for KTN at the Aberdares.
Thanks, Carol. Now we'll move to a rather sad story where 14 primary school students at a school in Samburu are now pregnant with children allegedly fathered by the police officers in the area. The parents of the pregnant girls at Longewan Primary School have accused police officers deployed in the area of luring the girls with the promise of gifts. Now, the anti-stock theft unit and administration police officers were deployed in the area to maintain peace in the region, and the camps are located just meters from a school. Factors such as poverty, illiteracy, ignorance about children's rights and culture that encourage early marriages are believed to have contributed to the state of affairs. Now, the school administration reports that the pregnant girls are still pursuing their education, and plans have been made to ensure they proceed with their education even after delivering their babies. Parents now want the government to shift the police officers' camp away from the school.
In every term, we must have a drop of 3 girls or even 4 or 5 girls in a class. So that make an enrollment down. So it's an effort that these children will need to be given at least a life skill.
Kusema ukweli sisi kama wasasi ama kama kamati huwa tunahisi uchungu kwa sababu mara kwa kila mwaka huwa tunapoteza wasichana kwa kupata mimba. Kwa sababu hata tukichukua wase watuchukulie kwa ile kwa haraka kwa sababu hawa wanatamani mali. Na sisi wamama ndio tunaumia kwa sababu sisi ndio tunasikia uchungu kwa sababu hiyo mtoto akisaa hiyo msiko yote ni yako.
The women in that region talking about the economic burden that these children who were essentially unplanned for will have on them. But a simple Google search, Tunya, on defilement in Kenya 2013.
Right. Yes.
Let me just show you what I've come up with. February 15th, 2013, Gatundu man arrested for defiling a 1-year-old. February 29th, 2013, man charged with defiling 4-year-old girl in Kitale. It goes on and on. 28th March, March 21st. All these are stories about defilement, and so the question is, what is the problem? Are we not doing the right thing?
What is disturbing is that for the case in Samburu, the people know who is responsible. They know the police units.
Or alleged.
Alleged, yes, but there is a trail there. I mean, we should have seen a lot of activism coming from protection rights and human rights and whatnot, but really also it also borders on poverty, because some of the concerns that the parents are raising, it's not really about the life of the child, about the economic burden.
Well, it does open up an interesting debate. Do get in touch with us on our Twitter handle at KTN News Desk. We'll be very glad to engage with you on the same. Shifting gears to Isiolo now, where police have recovered 29 heads of cattle believed to have been stolen by cattle rustlers in Borat area of Isiolo County over the Easter weekend.
Now, the 29 cattle were recovered early this morning after a tip-off from members of the public. Now, they were recovered at Kipsing area of Oldonyiro division after an exchange of fire between the cattle rustlers and police.
Police have now stepped up their patrols in pursuit of the rustlers who escaped, leaving behind the cattle.
Hii ni challenge ambayo imekuwa katika hii kaunti ya Isiolo. Na tunawauliza wananchi ambao wanajua habari ya hawa wezi wao wakitupasha, wakiwaona tu wanaingia katika eneo lao. Vile vile tuseme kwamba kama sasa ni wakati wa mvua, watu waende wajishughulishe na kazi za kulima, na hata zile mifugo wako nazo wazilishe vizuri badala ya kwenda kuimba kwa wenzao. Hizo ambazo tumeweza kurecover, hakuna maisha ambayo ilipotea. Lakini miaka imepita, tumepoteza maisha nyingi.